friends, thanks so much for tuning in with Embodied Astrology. My name is Renee. I'm a consulting astrologer and embodiment educator. And every month I offer astrologically guided readings that help connect you with your mind-body intelligence and energetic intuition. In this very special Aquarius season episode, we're going to tune in with 2025 and get some channeled messages specific to each of the 12 zodiac signs. So make sure to listen to the recording for your sun, rising, and moon signs. And if these readings speak to you, make sure to check out the extended readings for each sign in 2025. They include an additional 2+ hours of in-depth exploration for navigating this year's most important transits, retrogrades, and eclipses. Additionally, if you are an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, or if you know how to work through the themes of each house in your chart, and you know where Aquarius is for you, make sure to listen in on the Aquarius reading for an extra special edition with some important themes for Aquarius season. In 2025, that's January 19th through February 18th. If my readings resonate for you, let me know by clicking the thumbs up and tell me what lands in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated with my monthly readings and astro-inspired movement and meditation practices. The best way to show your support and stay connected is to sign up for the Embodied Astrology newsletter, drop into a weekly or monthly Embodied Astrology class, or sign up for a monthly membership. You can find more information on everything in the show notes or at embodiedastrology.com. All right, let's get into your channeled readings for 2025. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to 2025 and welcome to Aquarius season. Happy birthday if it is your birthday. Happy new solar year to all of your Aquarius placements. This is an extra special little bonus birthday reading just for my Aquarians out there. I am recording for you on January 16th, so we are a couple days before Aquarius season begins, and after this section, continue to find a channeled message overview for 2025. You're going to get my read on some of the most important and powerful influences for your year ahead. But first, I want to give you a little bit extra for Aquarius season. So as we move into Aquarius season, there is something really special happening, which is the presence of Pluto in your sign. Now, if you've been working with astrology, you know that this is not the first moment that Pluto has come into Aquarius. Over the last 2 years, the outer planet Pluto has been making its way very, very slowly into your sign due to planetary retrograde. It has had a couple of entries so far. It's moved into the very early degrees of Aquarius and then back into the late degrees of Capricorn. But as of November 2024, Pluto is in your sign for 20 years. It does not leave Aquarius until 2043. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience. Pluto has a 250-year orbit around the sun. This is the only time in your lifetime, unless a lot happens in the next 20 years to extend your lifetime, that you will receive this influence. And if you look back historically at Pluto and Aquarius transits, these are periods of time that are highly revolutionary in nature, where people are grouping together to push back against situations that are not conducive to evolutionary growth. There is a lot of support during Pluto and Aquarius periods for organizing and moving into new configurations and new patterns in society, as well, of course, as our personal growth. Now, in this special section, I really want to focus on what's happening for you personally, but I will say that on the 29th of January, you can join me and my colleague Ramon Parrish for a special look at Pluto and Aquarius as a 20-year transit. We are going to really be thinking about what this means for the collective and as a generational cycle, and there will be a lot there for you to work with in your Aquarius placements as well. That event is only for members, but you can sign up for a free membership at embodiedastrology.com. Just go to our member section in the menu and click on the join membership and you'll find information there. Okay, so getting into Aquarius season, it feels like there is a powerful new presence in your body, in your mind, and in your personality. And this powerful presence is the presence of Pluto. Now, as I mentioned, Pluto is an outer planet. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience. And because of the outer planet generational and collective nature of this transit, I'm going to say that there's a lot of feelings of intensity that come with it. Now, intensity is neither good nor bad inherently. It really has everything to do with what you do with it. And it requires you to really tune in with your transformative potentials. Now, throughout Aquarius season, there will be some important conjunctions with Pluto in Aquarius, and this includes the Sun's conjunction on the 21st of January and Mercury's conjunction on the 28th of January. So in that week or so between the 20th and the 28th, as we have the Sun and Mercury conjoining Pluto in Aquarius, and then moving towards one another for their conjunction coming in on February 9th, it feels to me that a lot of you are really, I'm going to say, absorbed in an intensity inside of your consciousness and your thoughts. Now, again, intensity is neither good nor bad inherently. It really has everything to do with what you do with it. But this kind of intensity is really big. It is generational, it is collective, and that means that you right now are very sensitive to energetic patterns and vibrations that are bigger than you personally. And so for some of you, this could take shape as thoughts and feelings, sensations in your body that feel much bigger than you know what to do with. And the sense of social change and I'll say social unrest that is definitely a signature of this time may also be resonating really strongly for you. You might feel a kind of frustration at many different situations. There could be a sense of agitation and wanting to push back against what feels oppressive or suppressive to your energy, to your vitality, or to your sense of life path and purpose. There may be a sense of resonance across the board with activism and movement building that is about something revolutionary or evolutionary in its nature. In 2025, there are a lot of things going on. It could be environmental, it could be class and economic related. It could have something to do with misuse of power, of resources, things like that. So if you happen to notice that you are kind of filled with an intensity where you feel that you really want to take part in change, and whether you are noticing that these desired changes are specific in your own life and have to do with what feels very personal to you, or whether these desired changes are really about something bigger and broader and more collective, I'm going to say that it is really helpful for you right now to contemplate the nature of your life as part of something that is much bigger than your life. And this kind of contemplation can happen in so many ways, and it could happen very peacefully, energetically, and meditatively as you tune in with your breath and your body, and you remember that every single breath you're breathing is breath that has been shared and created across life forms, as long as Earth has also been a life form. The breath you're breathing right now was literally created in the Big Bang from the stuff of stars, what our universe is made of. You can also tune in with the water in your body, and this can be extremely helpful for Aquarians. You might know that your sign is sometimes referred to as the water bearer. Now, in an embodied lens or through medical astrology, Aquarius actually has governance over your connective tissues, including the tissues of your arteries and veins, including your fascia. And these are tissues that move hydration and fluid through your body. You know that you are made of 60 to 70% ocean. And the water bearer substance, your connective tissues, your veins, and your arteries are moving this water through your body. And just like your breath is breath that is shared across the spectrum of life on Earth and in the universe, water as well is shared. All the water that's moving through your body right now has changed shape an infinite amount of times. It has been rivers, oceans, lakes, ice, mist, steam. It has moved through countless bodies across the ages. And sometimes just tuning in with this sense of continuity in the felt sense and in your body can be extremely balancing, calming for your nervous system, and help your mind and sense of individuality and personality get a little bit more ease inside of it. And when we're connecting with what is bigger than us, ideally what happens is a sense of ease, a kind of relaxation around all the pressures that we might put on ourselves or put on our lifetimes or put on our relationships, all the ways that we might think about getting to goals that may or may not ever be achieved, all the ways that we compare ourselves to everything and everywhere and everyone around us. So these are some ways that you can connect yourself with what is bigger than you. And of course, especially for those of you that are feeling a call to change within the social landscapes, it can be really helpful to connect with what is bigger than you across the human experience. This can include ancestral continuity. You are part of lineages and legacies of evolution and change, and they will not end with you. So you might want to call in the support of your ancestors and guardians and guides, those who have come before you that have given to you in ways that allow you to continue working now to change things for the future. And as you connect to the past and the future, remember that you are never working alone. You can also connect horizontally, laterally, all the time. There are so many other individuals living here and now who are probably really aligned with you in sentiment and spirit. And as you know, revolutions, evolutions require lots of participation and engagement. So the more that we can connect with one another through this cycle of Pluto and Aquarius, the more we can make change. And I know that a lot of Aquarians are deeply invested in causes that are humanitarian in nature, that are about uplifting consciousness and collective well-being. And there is no better way for you to support this work in your individual life than to connect out with others who are doing similar or complementary work. And this is definitely a season that can really help support you to connect in new and different ways. And the more that you connect in new and different ways, the more you're going to have support for your body, mind, heart, spirit, and beingness to feel connected, right? Not isolated, inspired, motivated, supported, strengthened, etc. Now, right away, as we move into Aquarius season, there are some important influences happening with your ruling planet, Saturn. Now, you might be familiar with the modern ruling planet of your sign, Uranus, and Saturn, of course, is the traditional ruling planet. If that means gobbledygook to you, just let it go. But I will say that between the very beginning of your season, so January 18th and 19th, pretty much through to the end of January, there are some significant influences happening with both Saturn and Uranus. So first and foremost, Venus is connecting with Saturn as we move into Aquarius season. There is a Venus-Saturn conjunction on the day that Aquarius season begins, January 19th. Now, this conjunction is one of 3 Venus-Saturn conjunctions that will happen over the course of the next several months due to Venus's upcoming retrograde. And after Venus moves out of Pisces, where it currently is, will enter the sign Aries. That's where it will station retrograde in March. It will move back into Pisces, will station direct there, but it doesn't finish this whole phase, what many astrologers call the shadow phase, pre and post retrograde shadow phase, until May of 2025. And throughout this duration, Venus's contact with Saturn is incredibly important. So this contact is really supportive for having a grounded, steady, I'm going to say not super emotionally diluted experience about your values. And this can definitely include your money. So when I say values, think about everything that is valuable to you. Think about what is most precious, what is most important, and also what you need to resource your life and sustain yourself and all of those that you might care about or care for. You can also think about the ways that what is valuable to you connects internally to your sense of self-worth and also your value systems. Now, as I mentioned, as we move into Aquarius season, this contact is beginning, but this contact also continues in influence over the course of the next 4 to 5 months. And so during this time, a lot of you, I think, are really needing to get serious about your values. And again, this includes what you value, how you value it, why you value it, and what that means for how you feel about yourself, your personal sense of self-esteem, and your internal values. During this time, your modern ruler, Uranus, is also getting contacts from Venus, from Mercury, and then later in the month on January 30th, Uranus is stationing direct. It has been retrograde for the last many, many months. And Uranus is currently transiting through the sign Taurus. Like Aquarius, Taurus is a sign on the fixed cross. It holds the root of your chart. And this is a place that definitely is associated with themes of home and family and foundation. And really at the core, what it is for you to have a sense of belonging. Now, many of us do not feel that we belong in our homes or our families, or those can be experiences and sensations that certainly wash through us in relationship to the people that we might call family. And the experience of home building, home making, is a journey throughout our lives. We're also living at a time on Earth when increasingly more people are experiencing domestic precarity, if not total displacement. There are a lot of environmental factors, social factors, economic factors, etc. And whether or not you are being impacted directly, I'm going to guess that you know of, or maybe you personally know people who are and have been. And this is impacting your nervous system. This is impacting you because you are a sensitive, empathic person who is connected across the board to what is bigger than you, including the rest of your human family. And you also are a body containing mirror neurons. And so when you see things happening to other bodies that are dangerous, that are stressful, that are violent, etc., that registers in your own body as a possibility. And there are things that happen in your own body in protection and defense, whether or not this is something that is actively happening to you. So what I want to say about this is that moving into Aquarius season, as I mentioned, feels really intense for Aquarians. And I think that a lot of you are kind of really sensitive to the ways that things are shifting in your foundation. And this could literally mean where you are and how you are there. And this could also mean something more energetic and subtle, where there's a sense of stability right now is not so stable. And you don't know what is upcoming and how it might be impacting you. But I think a lot of you know that things are changing rapidly, and there are many, many areas of unpredictability. Now, it's easy for our human systems when we feel these kinds of ways to go into some of the activation states for our nervous systems. You might be familiar with the fight, flight, freeze responses. These are biologically necessary responses that our bodies have to danger and threat, where our sympathetic nervous systems get ready to protect us and keep us surviving, either by fighting, fleeing, or freezing. And what it feels like when this happens in our nervous systems can take so many different shapes. But in general, it's not an easeful experience. If you are in a fight, flight, freeze response, you are probably not really present in the moment. You probably don't have a lot of contact and access to your own bodily rhythms and needs. We can definitely disassociate during these times, and our bodies just kind of go into autopilot around their survival instincts. These responses can also really take a toll on our vital functions. So our breath, our digestion, the way that we feel energized, able to engage, pay attention, things like that. And as you can imagine, if this is happening inside of bodies, it really doesn't have a great effect on our relationships. It can be really challenging to connect with one another. There can be higher degrees of reactivity and mistrust or competition, and just survival instincts coming up in general make it harder to listen and attune and be empathic with others. So, my friends, I know that in a lot of ways what I'm about to say is counter-evolutionary, because our bodies have evolved to survive. And our bodies have evolved over millions of years to survive threat from predators, including one another. But where we are now, in my opinion, evolving in human consciousness, is a period of time when we need to actually really transform the ways that we perceive and understand what threat is. Of course, there is still the threat of violence from other human beings. There is the threat of unpredictability that just comes part and parcel with living on planet Earth. But so many of the threats that we face these days actually are coming from inside of us. These are the threats of our survival instinct programming rearing its head when actually that's not what we need. We might not need to literally fight or flee or freeze to protect ourselves from predators. We might actually really need to be so present and empathic and understand what's happening in our body minds that are patterning, bringing up some kind of reactivity that might move us to engage in ways that actually lead more towards harm than healing. And you know this, I know this, we all know the experience of feeling really activated and going into a kind of reactionary state and making decisions that later on we probably can see were not the best decisions in the moment. And sometimes those decisions are small and not a huge deal, but sometimes those decisions actually have really long-lasting impact. And whether they are small or large, they certainly also, again, ripple out into our relationships. And so every time we have the opportunity to make a decision, inside of those decisions are seeds that can grow into harm or healing. We can move towards decisions that could lead to greater benefit or decisions that could lead to greater suffering. Now, I want for you and I want for me, and that means I want for us, to be able to make decisions that are really grounded in the wisdom and intelligence of our higher selves. And that means that we have to subvert our evolutionary programming a little bit. And this is a different kind of evolution now. This is a kind of evolution that is asking us to pause in our moments of reactivity and activation and really ask ourselves, what are the choices that we want to be making next? And how can we make choices that lead towards the best possible outcomes for ourselves, for those we care about, and for all involved? Now, obviously, if you are under active threat, and this is definitely true just south of where I am in Southern California, where lots of folks are experiencing active threat from wildfires. There are active threats happening all across the globe for multiple reasons. If you happen to find yourself in one of these situations, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and know that sometimes you need to act. There will be needs for you to get up and go, or for you to move into action in some particular way. But those situations can also leave residue in the body that then linger on afterwards. So we might find ourselves post-traumatic experience feeling like we're still in that experience and needing to respond. As I mentioned already, mirror neurons and sensitivity mean that even if we're not in those situations, there may be parts of our beings that are preparing and maybe even kind of think that we are. So, breath is your friend, my friends. Aquarius, as I mentioned, is connected with the connective tissues. It also has relationship to your nervous system. And your nervous system and connective tissues work together. Tension in our bodies is actually held by our nervous systems. A lot of people think it's their muscles that gets tight, but actually it's your nervous system. And the tension in your nervous system pulls on your connective tissues. And this then creates a situation of muscular tension or tension in your organs that can lead to all kinds of physiological imbalances and distress. This can include tension headaches. It can include various situations with your appetite or your sleep, or again, your attention and capacity to be present, and definitely in the ways that you're relating with others. So I want to encourage you right now, where you are, to give your body a little bit of a shake. However much you can shake your body, you could shake out your head, your hands, your butt, your shoulders, shimmy them around. And then once you've shaken it out just a little bit, go ahead and tense all of your muscles, like actively contract everything. You can make fists with your hands, squeeze your toes, squinch your face up, clench your buns, make everything really, 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 really tight. You might even notice that you stop breathing in order to do this, and then take a big breath in and relax it all. And just notice the lingering residue of that. Now, for most people, just that little bit of embodied attention, shaking some things out, moving towards contraction and then release, can help relax a little bit of unnecessary tension. If you feel places in your body where you are noticing really acute tension, you can actually bring this practice locally to those places. So if your back is really tight, you might actively try and contract your back muscles and then relax them. You might actively try to shake it out or move it out a little bit and then contract and then relax. And this kind of practice over time can really help you start to notice what your body's particular tension patterns are. And you can use this kind of practice anytime that you might notice that you are experiencing the effects of increased stress and tension in your body, in your mind, in your relationships, or in your general experience. And I will say that not just in Aquarius season, not just over the next couple of months, but really over the next 20 years of Pluto moving through your sign, one of the major invitations for Aquarians is to learn to work skillfully and in transformative ways with tension. And tension is necessary. Our bodies hold together through tensegrity. Inside of our relationships, we need a little bit of tension. It keeps it interesting, it keeps us connected, and it keeps us growing and learning. Tension in excess is terrible. Not enough tension, things don't stay together. So how do we work dynamically, creatively, and skillfully with tension? I'm going to leave you with that question. Take it into Aquarius season, take it into your year ahead, take it into your life in general. The last things that I want to offer you over the course of Aquarius season have to do with the lunations. So on January 29th, we have a new moon in Aquarius. Now this new moon is trine Jupiter in Gemini, your fellow air sign. And in less than a week after the new moon on February 4th, Jupiter is actually stationing direct from a retrograde that it's been in over the last many months. Now, this new moon and station direct for Jupiter is inviting you to get creative, playful, spontaneous, and connected with your inner child. For those of you who are parents or who have the opportunity to hang out with kids, this is also a new moon and cycle that is inviting you to tune in with childlike energy in general and allow younger generations and perspectives to be your teacher right now. That can include your inner child, as well as other people out there who I'm going to say are under, let's say, 20. And if you're in your early 20s, then let's say 10 and under, right? So people who are more fresh on planet Earth have different kinds of perspectives. They have different kinds of intelligences, and they are also free in some ways of the programming that we accumulate as we age. And though there is a lot to learn as we age doesn't always equal maturity or wisdom. And people who are younger have very particular and special kinds of intelligence and wisdom. And this is an amazing period of time for you to tune in with that, to have a good time letting loose, playing, tuning in with your imagination, your creativity, your creative expression, and again, your inner child energy. And as this is a new moon and beginning of a growth cycle in your sign, Aquarius, I also want to invite you to do a little bit of ritual magic for yourself. This could be any time on the 29th until February 4th, so in the early stages of the waxing crescent moon. Tune in with this sense of your inner child. You could even get a picture of yourself when you were a young one. That can sometimes be really helpful to locate and orient that inner child energy. And ask your inner child, what are their goals? What are their desires? What are their messages of wisdom and affirmation and guidance? Do they have requests of you to remember or to look forward to? In this season, in this year, or maybe for the next 20 years. That is also the day when Ramon Parrish and I will be holding a special Aquarius season members only conversation space. So if you are an Embodied Astrology member, make sure to check our circle membership and get your invite. And again, you can become a member for free by going to our circle space and clicking join on the upper right hand corner. Now, 2 weeks after the new moon, we will have a full moon in Leo, your opposite sign. The full moon is on February 12th. And this is a full moon that is coming just a couple of days after the conjunction of Mercury and the Sun in Aquarius. They are both in aspect, in square aspect to Uranus and Taurus. I just talked about that influence. And so this full moon is really activating the fixed cross. Your opposite sign, Leo, where the full moon is happening, is representative of what is opposite to you or opposing you, or maybe a better way to say it is who reflects you back to you. Your opposite sign is always going to talk to you about your relationships in general, and also specifically your most important partners and one-on-one dynamics. This doesn't have to be romantic. It can include all kinds of dynamics, but this is where you are really working your relationship with other people. And inside of those dynamics and connections, you have to navigate things like compromise or balance or conflict or attraction or aversion or whatever. So as we move from the new moon to the full moon, I feel like a lot of you are experiencing some energetic amplification in the realms of your relationships. Some of you, there are issues coming up about home and family that might be needing to get worked on with significant partners or cohabitants. And some of you are definitely thinking about what's next with home, family, partnership, how you are trying to build your community, chosen family, connections in new and different ways, etc. Now, this full moon and these influences are definitely energizing. And Leo is sometimes dramatic, and drama and energy can be passionate, expressive, creative, and fun. And especially coming out of that new moon influence, for some of you, this is a great time for romance. And I would certainly encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to start thinking about it at the new moon. How can you move towards the full moon with the people who are most important to you in ways that are fun, celebratory, joyful, creative, and spontaneous? And sometimes drama and passion can be spicy in some ways that we might experience as conflict. And I'm going to say that whatever is arising right now, if you are experiencing conflict, wants to help you get more anchored again in your sense of values. What is most important to you? Your partners, your home, your family, and your chosen family might need some extra attention right now. There may need to be important conversations that get had. You might be having awakenings, revelations, and realizations that are changing how you feel inside of these dynamics and situations. And now you need to communicate about them. And there could be a lot at risk for some of you, but also a lot to gain for some of you. I want to support you right now to be thinking about what can help you and the people that you care most about feel the most free and supported. Now, freedom and support sometimes feel like antitheses to each other, particularly in committed relationships and partnerships. The more that we become stable and supportive to each other, sometimes the less freedom we perceive or get to experience. But healthy, evolutionary relationships where friendship is really at the core of some of your goals and desires to be relating with one another, whether or not other attributes are there, like romance or sexuality or business partnership. If friendship is at the core, if you really value what is best for your partners and friends, and if you can feel that they really value what is best for you, then you are set up to be making choices together that lead to stability and some amount of freedom, because we all need both. Everybody needs to feel that there are safe spaces of belonging with people who understand us, who have our best interests at heart. And all of us also need to feel like there's some room to stretch our wings, to grow, to change, to be different. Right now, a lot of you have some opportunities to shift the ways that you are with yourself in order to feel more stable and more free. And as you shift the ways you are with yourself, what needs to happen in your relationships? What needs to happen at home? What needs to happen in the ways that you are working with what is most important to you, your self-esteem, your internal sense of values, and your resources? I'm not sure what the answers are for you, Aquarius, but I leave you with those questions to contemplate throughout your season ahead. Now, stay tuned. I am going to continue from here with an excerpt of your 2025 extended reading. I'm going to offer you a channeled, intuitive download of what I'm getting for you this year, the main themes and messages. And if you resonate with what I'm talking about in this reading or in the next section, definitely check out your year ahead extended reading. Those readings are about 3 hours in length for every sign, and they include deep dives into the biggest transits, retrogrades, and eclipses of 2025, along with suggestions for really working with them through your mind-body intelligence and your energy to reach the most beneficial outcomes and work skillfully with the challenges. Aquarius, I'm wishing you all the best in Aquarius season in 2025 and beyond. Bye for now. Well, Aquarius, you are in a rebirth process. You probably know this. This is a long birthing process, at least over the course of the last year. 2024 is really when it is feeling like it's beginning. And rebirthing is something that many of us get to do throughout our lives at least a couple of times. But the level and intensity of our various iterations of rebirth will not always be the same. So you have probably already experienced moments in your life when it felt like an old you is no longer and a new you has arrived. And these kinds of moments arrive often at big life transitions. They could be natural during ages in our lives when there's kind of a rite of passage. For example, the threshold or transition between childhood and adulthood, or even young childhood and adolescence, adulthood and eldership, etc. There are also moments of transition in our lives that happen because of circumstances. And the circumstances that are outside of us are often also circumstances of our own creation and making, or they are circumstances that become part of our creation stories and really deeply shape our lives. And these kinds of circumstances can happen at any age, but generally they involve big transitions and the ending of a particular phase in life. This could be the ending of an important relationship or a career or moving from a place that you've lived for a long time. Throughout our lives, we will experience different levels of ability and disability physically and in our mental and emotional health. And there are also periods of time that mark those kinds of transitions where we might feel ourselves transforming in our bodily needs and realities. And that means that one life we are leaving behind and another life we are entering into. Now, in general, I've been talking about 2025 in these year ahead readings as a bridge year. And what I mean by this is that on a collective level, I really feel that we, as a big human we, are transitioning from one world into another world. And however you want to think about this transition, whether you are thinking about changes in the environment, in the socioeconomic and political spheres, in social consciousness, and the ways that human beings want to organize ourselves in civilization, there are a lot of places where you can look to see the world is changing and an old world is dying and a new world is being born. And for each of us as individuals, this is going to look different. And in your chart, Aquarius, this looks really personal. It feels to me that you are entering into a significant new chapter. And that means that an old chapter that has also been very significant is ending. And the level and intensity of this particular rebirth moment for you, I'm going to say, is pretty high. And so depending on the kinds of transformative experiences you've had already in your life, this may be one for the books. When you look back at this time, I think a lot of you will really see that 2024 into 2026 was a period of time where you absolutely transformed. And who you were at the beginning of that period of time is not who you were on the other side. And you might say, well, Renee, we could say that about anybody in a 2-year span of time, but this feels particularly remarkable. And it feels like almost all aspects of your life have to change because of the level that you are changing. And there may be external events or relationships that are catalysts for your change, but ultimately you are the one who is transforming. And because you are transforming, your life then also is transforming. And so 2025 is an interesting kind of year because it feels to me like you are moving in and out of states of change. And as we move into the year, you are motivated and compelled and propelled, and I might even say a little bit activated by important relationships in your life, and potentially also by the way you feel yourself in relationship with others. You might be feeling that you need to relate in very different ways. Others may be offering you opportunities to really reflect on your need for change. And it doesn't feel like these kinds of changes are soft changes necessarily. It feels like you are confronted with something. And in that confrontation, the request from the universe, and maybe specifically from your own consciousness or from people who you are in relationship with, there is a request for you to work on yourself. Now, what does that mean? That can mean so many different things. And ultimately, on a core level, I feel that this request is about you really tuning in and reorienting yourself in a different way. And the reorientation feels like you need to be less outwardly focused and performatively driven, and more inwardly guided and anchored in a clear understanding of what your commitments are and what needs to be cared for. And many of you are being asked to check in with your priorities, and there may need to be some reprioritization. And the feeling that I have is that you need to care for what is most precious right now. Now, what is most precious for you? The answer will be different for all Aquarians, but I do want to offer that major themes coming forward on a collective level for all of us. What is most precious is the earth, the environment that we are all reliant on to survive and that we are actually a part of. And so as we attend to our own healing and well-being and care, we automatically then have to consider the well-being and care and the healing of Earth. We as individuals that are part of Earth cannot be well if the Earth is unwell. And so I think a lot of you might be very deeply compelled in more spiritual, existential, energetic, and also deeply practical ways. And you are wanting to reorient yourself in some ways to care for the earth. Now, just beyond that, or maybe it's not quite the right language, but following that path, what is most precious is life. And life is interdependent and interconnected. And there may be certain lives or area of life that you are particularly compelled toward protecting. So there may be groups of people, and you may identify with these groups of people or not, but there feels like a sense of compassion, potential outrage. There's a lot of things to be outraged about in the world right now, particularly when it comes to how much lack of care there is, and particularly for certain groups of people who are really bearing the brunt of residues and accumulations of dismissal, rejection, demonization, scapegoating, etc. And some of you might really feel compelled and called to involve yourself in the work of mutual aid, of caring for and advocating with. And again, you may or may not personally identify yourself as, part of this group or these groups, but whether or not your positionality and social location puts you as a member of the kinds of people or beings that you're trying to care for. You might be trying to care for the whales or the trees or the pollinators, as well as certain groups of humans. you understand that your life is absolutely intrinsically and innately connected with the life that you are involving yourself in caring for, in protecting and defending, etc. So on big levels, existential levels, energetic levels, and interconnected levels, many Aquarians are deeply humanitarian at heart and really here for a life purpose of being of service to the greater whole. And this is definitely a time on earth that is calling to you and calling to you to arrive and send out, the bat signal, call on everybody, all hands on deck. This is a moment where we need as much participation and concern as possible. And I feel that many of you are really, really pulled and compelled to doing the big work of our times right now. Now, on personal levels that affect you immediately, I'm also going to say that your life is most precious. And you can't do much for anybody else or for the earth if you are not caring for yourself. And as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, throughout our lives, we will experience various levels of ability and disability. And the one guarantee we get is that we are going to die, right? And so whatever the path is towards death that we each get to journey upon is going to be a surprise. That's part of our contract with life is we don't know when, we don't know how. There's not a guarantee about it except that it will happen. And there are moments in our lives when that feels closer as a reality and moments when it feels further away. And I think that for a lot of you, as we move into 2025, this is a very close reality. You understand that your life and your health is precious. You really need to take care of it. And how do you best take care of your life? Well, a couple of things are coming up for me that feel important throughout this year. First and foremost, right use of your energy. Don't overtax yourself. Don't do work in ways that produces more stress hormones than is absolutely necessary. So this means let go of hastiness and urgency. You really want to work on your stress levels. And this requires intentional practicing of relaxation. As I'm talking, I'm really feeling the need to relax around the gut and the belly and the diaphragm. The whole chest and torso area needs to relax. The front wall of the abdomen needs to relax. And the feeling that I have is that you need to cultivate right now your inward moving channels of receptivity. And this feels like softening in the inner body. It feels like breathing deep breaths in ways that aren't about forcing the breath to come in. It's not like you're trying to inflate a balloon. It's more like relaxing into the inhale and allowing your breath and whatever resource can come into you to seep in and to trust that you are going to be able to receive what you need to receive. And this feels like significant reprogramming in some ways. For a lot of you, many Aquarian identified people out there are really good at following the call to action. And many Aquarians out there are also really good at holding a large space around emotion. And this is such an amazing gift that you give to human consciousness because emotion can be dramatic. It can be ridiculous sometimes, especially when we're really attached to it and convinced that it is real and permanent. And especially when we deeply, deeply invest in our emotions. Again, this is an attachment and this is a kind of mental, emotional bondage a little bit that can lead to so many misuses of power. And the Aquarian capacity to be quote unquote objective, to hold a lot of space around something, to look at things from all different perspectives and angles and really try and apply logic and reason and look for the structures and the systematic causes and effects. That is absolutely necessary, and it's one of the things we need most in certain ways at this time. But for those Aquarians or people with a lot of Aquarius energy who are really good at doing that, sometimes that also results in a kind of compartmentalization that hides your own feelings somewhere in your body. And it feels to me that some of you have emotional deposits of feelings that have not been able to be felt, and they need some time, they need some attention. And so when it comes to your well-being, there's a feeling here of you need to feel your feelings also in order to be well. And there may be some psychosomatic symptoms or symptomologies that are coming up, particularly around the beginning of the year, and I'm going to say the first quarter through the month of April. And these kinds of symptoms could definitely manifest as fatigue and lethargy. They can manifest as high levels of inflammation, which can produce all kinds of different symptoms in your body, but particularly be on the lookout for, eruptions of some kind, or a lot of achiness, or a kind of chronic feeling of it's like every day. And you might also pay attention to digestive problems, as well as what feels like stagnancy in your fluid systems. This could be a lot of phlegm, or, fluids just not really moving and feeling sluggish and things like that. And so it's really important for you to get your heart rate and body moving to the extent that you can, considering whatever else your body's needs are. But even if you are immobile and you can't, get out for a walk or a run or go dancing or something like that, and what I would recommend is, if you are physically able to walk, run, do strength training, lift weights, do things that really help you feel strong in your body, and again, get your heart rate up and also bring you joy in your body. So I love dancing for you. If it's something that you enjoy doing, please dance. Always, and definitely in the first quarter of 2025. But for anybody who is not able at this time to do those kinds of movements, I would really recommend working with pranayama or breath practices, breath work. You can find breath work in so many different places and with different teachers right now. But it feels like simple breath work would actually be really helpful. You might look for a practice called Viloma and Samavriti. These are Sanskrit names for pranayama practices. You might also look at alternate nostril breathing. And you might also try and learn a little bit about how trauma affects the breath and the diaphragm. And I think that there's a program out there called Primal Trust that helps you reprogram your breathing mechanisms, and that I think will be really helpful for some of you out there. So if you know that you're a person who experiences frequent anxiety, if you feel like it's hard to get a full breath, if you are experiencing any of those symptoms that I mentioned earlier, definitely check out breath work and diaphragmatic release. And also for everybody, and especially for folks who are experiencing disability at the moment or lack of mobility, if it's possible for you to get body work at this time, it would be so helpful for a lot of you. And if it's financially not feasible to get treatments regularly, then get on YouTube and search self-massage, and particularly look for lymphatic drainage massage and self-massage techniques and do them to yourself. Or if you have a partner or friend or family member who you would feel comfortable and they're willing, see if they would do some of these techniques for you. And then I'll just quickly say that I teach a class every Monday called Somatic Space, and we do a lot of self-massage in that class. And so that might also be a way that you can access some of what I'm talking about. And any kinds of practices that get your fluids moving and help your blood flow and circulation would be really helpful, I think. And now the last thing that I'm going to say is that in this need for you to take care of yourself, there is a feeling here for me that this is relational. And so, you know how people talk about this all the time, and it's some version of you take care of your relationships by taking care of yourself. You know, you have to put on your oxygen mask before you help somebody else. If you are super dysregulated and unresourced, it is preposterous to think that you would be able to regulate or resource another. And the feeling that I have is that a lot of you are really needing to take care of yourself right now. And we can take care of ourselves to a certain extent, and we also need community and we need others. And so caring for yourself also can look like asking for care and asking for help. But I just feel a need for you to receive some love and care and softness. And that might be coming from you to you. And that might be something that you can ask for. And it feels important that whoever you would receive this from is a trusted ally. And if you are unable to locate a trusted human ally at this time, I do want to say that it is really possible and very available for you to receive comfort and care from the earth and from the universe. And so this is also a year that you will benefit really greatly from your spiritual practices and communion practices with the more than human realms. And if you don't have those kinds of practices already, then this is definitely an amazing time to begin a practice and cultivate this kind of relationship. And this can look so many different ways. Many somatic practices are relational embeddedness practices. The Eastern arts, Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, these are all deeply ancient practices that are at their core innately about connecting beyond the human experience and being able to attune with the earth, with the elements, with the less visible and less known, forces and spirits that move through these realms. You can also go sit under a tree. Lean your back against its trunk, try and calm your mind and tune into the way that a tree breathes and ask for some support. I need a friend right now. Can I lean my back on you? Working with any kind of divination practice where you are calling upon particularly ancestors and energies who are here to nourish, protect, and soothe you could also be really helpful for you as we move into the year. Now, you've been in a phase of your transformation since 2024. Like I said, 2024 and 2025 and 2026 are all this kind of bridge for you. So 2024 feels like a lot of you were almost in a gestation kind of period. Like you knew that a lot of things were changing, but the way that you were holding them was more internally. And it almost feels like you were working on something in a really focused way and trying to shape it intentionally. And that continues to be the case in the first half of 2025, but as we move past June and into the second half of the year, that sense of more quiet, focused, in some ways internal process transitions, and then you become really active, and it kind of feels like you're going from a like gestation into a creation, and what has been more conceptual then turns into something that you are really trying to apply, and a lot of details are going to be a part of this. And there are many different things that I think you have to pay attention to. It feels like as we move towards June, like the middle of the year, a lot of you are getting really busy, and there are lots of details that you are trying to take care of because you're trying to start something new, and you have some exciting new ideas. And this is actually one of the core focal points for 2025, your exciting new ideas. And this goes along with this sense of personal transformation that's happening as you allow yourself to change and you really get comfortable and basically accept changes are happening. Then you have all these new ideas. And many of these ideas need to get worked and reworked. And in the first quarter of the year, this is a big theme, is this kind of internal process. It feels like that you're going back and forth over certain areas of your attention and focus. A lot of you are trying to figure out if you can afford something. And when I say afford something, obviously there is a financial possibility of that, interpreting that literally. So a lot of you are trying to figure out, do you have the funds? Do you have the resources? Some of you might be asking yourself questions about investment. Is this a wise investment? Now, all of that can also be applied beyond capital, and we can think about your time and your attention and your labor and your values, and this feeling of, is this the thing that's right for me? And you're trying to assess and discern how to use the resource that you have, and also how to be in alignment with your sense of priorities and values. And again, there's this need for you to attend to what is most precious. And I don't know what that means. That's the word that's coming to me. But there are vulnerabilities, there are fragilities, there are really important things that need to be cared for, and you don't want to hurt or harm them, is my feeling. And so you're taking a lot of precaution, and you want to take a lot of precaution. You don't want to be hasty. You don't want to be urgent. You don't want to be coming from a place of reactivity. You certainly don't want to be coming from a place of unchecked competition. And so you are, and that includes with yourself, by the way, like, I can do better than that. I can have more than that. Watch out for hungry ghost kind of energy, right? Like unchecked greed kind of energy. If you're like, I can have more, I can have more, I can have more, you really want to make sure that whatever it is that you are trying to figure out how to do is aligning for you in your heart and in your spirit, and you are feeling like this is positive in a relational way. So I'm not just here trying to get it all from me. I am also using my resource in ways that are in service to a greater good. Now, you don't want to leave yourself out of that, but dream your biggest dream for the world and then put yourself in it. So what is beneficial for the greatest good will be beneficial for you. The level of happiness that we could all have, the level of contentment and pleasure that we could all have if the world around us was thriving, if people were fed and housed and able to realize their life dreams and passions, and if the earth was something that we all prioritize taking care of, the level of happiness we could have would be enormous. I don't even know if we can even imagine it from where we are currently. Or, I mean, I don't know about you. For me, I can imagine it, but it's so different than what reality seems to be. Yet, it is a possibility. And so I'm going to just put it out there that it is a possibility. There can be win solutions. And whatever it is that you're trying to do in 2025, Aquarius, I want to encourage you to think about how is this going to result in a win. So you know that you're not doing things that are hurting others because it's good for you, and you're not hurting yourself trying to save anybody else, but you are really looking at something that feels more holistic, and you are really deeply thinking about the medicine of joy. And joy and creativity are such important experiences and qualities for our well-being, personally and collectively. And I think that a lot of you know this and want this. And over the course of this year, you are trying to figure out how to, it feels like, get new and different kinds of joy and satisfaction. I think a lot of you have some curiosities, and I don't know what those curiosities are specifically for you, but the feeling is almost a little mischievous. It's almost like, ooh, what's that? And I want to find out, but it could feel a little risky. It could feel unknown, and it could feel potentially destabilizing or strange. And you're like, that's strange. Why would I want to do that? But then it just doesn't leave you alone. And you're like, but I kind of want to know. So there is a vibe to 2025 for Aquarians especially that is giving fuck around and find out a little bit. You know, experiment, try things. If you feel the possibility for joy and exhilaration and liberation and new fun experiences, new fun people, try it out. And I'm going to go back to what I just said a minute ago, which is that you want the greatest good for all involved. So this is not necessarily, okay, I'm just going to go try anything that gives me sensory pleasure, but you're really trying to listen deeply to where is your curiosity wanting you to expand. And the feeling is not necessarily like sensory overload of some kind, like you're just gorging yourself on, I don't know, like whatever you think feels good. But it's more an intuitive knowing that you have that there's something there for you. There's something new and you want to try it, and it's as of yet unknown. And towards the, I'm going to say like third quarter of the year, June through October, a lot of you are trying something new. A lot of you are opening up and branching out in some really interesting new ways. It feels like you are creatively inspired and motivated. It feels like playful energy is here, and it feels really exhilarating and enlivening when you allow yourself to explore in these new and different ways. And then at the end of the year, there might be a need to quiet down a bit, to integrate, to learn more, and to allow whatever it is that you have been learning to help you continue to restructure, particularly the components of your life that have to do with how you are really using your energy and expressing your energy. I think a lot of you need to be more creative, and you're feeling that. And so creativity doesn't necessarily have to look like art projects, but it feels like you are needing to be involved in some way with some kind of reshaping so that you can stay interested and connected and feel alive with it. Now, the last thing I'll say is that for those of you who are parents, so this is not all Aquarians out there, but for those of you who have children or you want to have children, and also if you are a grandparent, or if you're an auntie, uncle, unctie, mentor person, if there's something about kids that's important for you, this is a big year in the way that you are relating with younger people and they are relating with you. And there's a lot of learning potential that is here. And so especially any of you who are educators or you're involved in educating your kids, or they're definitely involved in educating you, I know it. It's like there's a lot of learning that's happening and that is potential to happen, especially when you have liberatory attitudes. You don't need to enforce rules. You want to teach and help them cultivate wisdom and discernment. This is the difference between just telling somebody, no, don't do that, and having a conversation about what their desires are, what they're trying to get, what the action is, what the potential impact and consequences could be. What are your choices? How are your choices going to affect you and everybody else in the future? Is this actually the choice you want to make? Having more intelligence, discernment, and wisdom is the priority right now for you and your kids. And so everybody needs to drop the formulaic authoritarian stuff and move more towards like collaborative learning, co-learning together. And for any of you who are educators, or if you're doing anything that involves like creating experiences for young people, there's so much opportunity for you right now. And it's not just in 2025, and it actually starts in 2025, but then continues for several years. And so I'll talk more about that in the third part. But this definitely feels like a big theme. And then I will say for all Aquarians out there, for any of you who are starting new creative projects, and again, creativity does not have to look like an art project, but it feels like something that you're really interested in, you're excited about, and you have a kind of quality of playfulness with it. Anything that is beginning this year has big potential in an ongoing way. It's not going to get totally formalized this year. It needs experimentation. It needs time to get prototyped and tested and stuff like that. And then the final thing I'll say is that you and your life are a creative project. And the social experiences that you're having, particularly because you're an Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign, it is a social sign. The social experiences that you're having are a big part of your creative capacity. And so the more that you get intentional about your socializing and sociality and relational growth, the more you are taking charge of your creative energy and passions. And this opens up all kinds of opportunities that feel like the right way to go for you at this time. Okay, that's what I have for you today. If you enjoyed this reading, it is an excerpt from your 2025 extended year ahead, which includes an additional 2+ hours of in-depth exploration for navigating this year's most important transits, retrogrades, and eclipses. You can purchase that reading and access it today through the link in the show notes below. For anyone who's interested in joining some of Embodied Astrology's live virtual events, we have some upcoming in Aquarius season that you definitely don't want to miss. On January 29th, which is the Aquarius new moon, join Ramon Parrish and me for a members-only event where we'll be looking at Pluto's recent entry into Aquarius and what this means for the next 20 years. On February 9th, the author, artist, and intuitive Janata Petrus is holding her monthly full moon artistic alchemy class. Take this opportunity to tune in with the influences and creative guidance of the Leo full moon. Finally, on February 15th, Sherry Taylor and Ari Felix will be leading a workshop on Saturn and Pisces and astrology for world building. You can also find me every Monday in Somatic Space, where we work with the astrology of the week ahead as guidance for gentle and healing movement and meditation practices. All of our events are available by recording if you can't attend live. We offer tiered pricing and scholarships to everything, including memberships, and no one is ever turned away for lack of funds. Find more information in the show notes or at embodiedastrology.com.